You wake up one morning and something feels different, not in the sense of a new day full of endless possibilities, not with the naive excitement you once carried in your 20s. No, this awakening it carries weight. It carries silence. It carries the subtle whisper that maybe, just maybe, you are already late for the life you dreamed of. You check your phone and the world is loud, chaotic, endless. Everyone seems ahead. People are building careers, raising families, buying homes, traveling the world, collecting accomplishments like trophies displayed in a gallery of constant comparison. And you, sitting there in the quiet of your room, wonder why your own gallery feels incomplete, why your walls remain, why the silence feels louder than the noise outside. But here is the truth. You are not behind. You are not late. You are just in silence. And silence is not absence. Silence is not failure. Silence is not proof that life has abandoned. Silence is simply space. Space to reset. Space to rebuild. Space to awaken. Most people don't talk about this stage of life because society feeds you timelines, invisible clocks that tick louder with every year that passes. Graduate by 22. Find your career, fall in love by, marry by 30, have children by 32, buy a house by 30, secure your future by, and if you miss any of these invisible milestones, the world tells you, you are late. But milestones are illusions. They are borrowed maps, designed by people who never lived your life, who never carried your scars, who never knew your silence. Your 30s are not the end of the road. They are the road finally clearing. They are not a countdown. They are a beginning. Because silence is not a void. It is a teacher. Right now, the silence you feel is not punishment. Doorway to becoming someone new. Think about it. When you were younger, you filled your days with noise, music too loud, friendships too fast, nights that blurred into mornings, choices made in haste, dreams chased without pause. But noise doesn't let you hear your own voice. And the reason silence feels so uncomfortable now is because, for the first time, your life is asking you. Silence is uncomfortable because it reveals. It reveals the gap between who you are and who you wanted to be. It reveals the parts of yourself you've ignored, the promises you've broken to yourself, the truths you've been too busy to face. Revelation is not cruelty. It is clarity. And clarity is the first step toward change. You see, being in silence after 30 doesn't mean you are late. It means you are in the season of the world applauds speed, but life rewards depth. And depth is born in silence. Maybe you don't have the career you thought you would. Maybe you don't ship you imagined. Maybe you don't have the financial security you hoped for. Silence gives you the rare opportunity. What do I really want now? Not what I thought would impress others. Not what society told me I needed to chase. But what do I, in this moment of my life, truly desire? You are not late, because you are not running their race. You are walking your own. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in your 30s is stop running altogether and simply pause. Pause to reflect. Pause to realign. Pause to breathe. Because when you pause, you realize that silence is not empty. Silence is full of answers you never heard because you were too busy drowning in noise, full of healing that can finally reach the wounds you carried for years, full of opportunities that only when you slow down enough to see them. The world won't understand this. They will look at you and wonder why you are not rushing, why you are not already settled. They will question your pace, your choices, your silence. But remember this, their noise is not your path. Their timeline is not your truth. Their urgency is not your destiny. Life is not about proving yourself to the world. It is about proving to yourself that silence is not a weakness. It is strength. It is not delay. It is design. And you will realize that the silence you once feared was the very foundation that allowed you to build the life you always wanted. Not the life others expected of you, but the life that was waiting for you all along. Silence is the moment when your soul finally speaks. Not the voice you use in conversations, not the stories you tell friends to mask your doubts, not the curated version of yourself you share online. Silence is raw. Silence is the voice you can't escape when the world turns quiet. And in your 30s, silence is the one companion anymore. It tells you truths you've avoided. It whispers about the job you hate but keep because it feels safe. It confronts you with the relationships you outgrew but still hold on to fear of being alone. It reminds you of the dreams you abandoned, not but because you were too distracted to chase them. And as uncomfortable as that, this confrontation is a gift. Because silence is not here to destroy you, silence is here to return you to yourself. Most people mistake silence for stagnation. They look at a season of stillness and believe it means failure. But stagnation is when nothing changes. Silence, on the other hand, is when everything is quietly transforming. Think of winter. The trees look bare, lifeless, even dead. But underground, roots are growing deeper. The soil is shifting. Life is preparing for spring. That is what your silent winter. Not death, not failure. The culture around you will pressure you to move faster, to always be visible, to constantly produce, to prove that you are not falling behind. But this obsession with speed is what keeps people shallow. Running faster doesn't mean you are going deeper. Running faster doesn't mean you are going anywhere meaningful at all. When you embrace silence, you begin to see what others miss. You notice the small details, you rediscover the passions that once lit you up. You allow yourself to heal from the wounds you've carried for years, but never gave time to mend. Silence is not wasted time, it is invested time. The tragedy is that most people run from it at moment with distraction. Endless scrolling, meaningless conversations, noise they don't even enjoy, just to avoid facing the echo of their own thoughts. And the longer you avoid silence, the longer you delay the life waiting for you on the other side of it. But here's the paradox. The very thing you're running from is the thing that will save you. The silence you fear is the silence you need. When you realize this, you start walking differently. You stop asking, "Am I late?" and instead ask, "What is this silence teaching me?" You stop measuring yourself against the illusions of and begin measuring yourself against the depth of your own growth. And slowly, something shifts. The silence begins to feel safe. The pause that felt like punishment begins to feel like permission to choose differently again. Permission to let go of who you thought you had to be and finally step into who you really are. Because you are not behind, you are not broken, you are not late, you are simply in the season of silence. And silence, if you listen closely, it is the beginning of the chapter that matters most. There comes a point when you realize that silence is not just around you, it is inside you. It's in your chest when you wake. It lingers in your thoughts when you scroll through endless updates of people's lives. It follows you into your car, your evenings. First, you mistake it for loneliness. You mistake it for failure. But then, slowly, you understand. Silence is not loneliness. Silence is clarity. This is the decade where illusions collapse. The fantasy that you had to figure everything out, the belief that happiness would arrive once you hit certain milestones, that life would follow a neat, predictable script. In your 30s, those illusions break. And when they break, they leave silence. But this silence is not cruel. It is honest. And honesty is the most powerful foundation you can build up. Think of it. Your 20s were about noise. Noise of ambition, noise of experimentation, noise of mistakes. Your 30s are about refinement, cutting through the noise, what no longer matters, and listening for the subtle signals of what truly does. Silence forces you to ask hard questions. Am I living my own life or just following a script? Do I really want this job, this relationship, this city, this identity? Am I chasing something because it fulfills me or because it looks good from the outside? Most people never ask these questions. They drown them in distractions, afraid of the discomfort. But you who are listening now, you who feel this silence so deeply, you have been chosen by life to pause, to stop running long enough to confront the truth. And yes, but this pause is your gift. Because transformation never begins in noise. It begins in silence. You are not behind, you are not late. The silence you are in right now is the precise environment necessary for your rebirth. Seeds don't grow in chaos. They grow in stillness, buried deep beneath the earth, invisible to the world, until one day they break through. That is you now. The silence you fear is not emptiness. It is soil. And you are the seed. Understand this. Comparison is the thief of presence. Every time you believe you are behind, it is because you are comparing your timeline to someone else. But your silence is not their silence. Your path is not their path. Your timing is not there. The universe is not late. The universe is precise. So instead of asking, why am I not where I should be? Begin asking, what is this silence prepared? Because silence is never wasted. It always builds something. It builds resilience. It builds vision. It builds depth. One day you will look back and realize that the quiet seasons were the ones that shaped you the most. Not the noisy victories, not the public celebrations, but the silent nights when you faced yourself and didn't run. The mornings when you woke up with doubt, but chose to keep going. The unseen moments when you rebuilt yourself brick by brick in the privacy of your own heart. That is why you are not behind. Because while others are sprinting in circles, lost in noise, you are learning, and in listening you are aligning, and in aligning you are by far deeper than the timelines you once feared. Silence is not your punishment. Silence is your proof that your life is not random, proof that your path is not over, proof that beginnings don't always look like fireworks. Sometimes they look like stillness. You are not late. You are right on time. The silence you carry is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the space where your soul is finally teaching you what the noise of your 20s could never reveal. You thought success was measured in speed, in milestones, in applause. But the silence of your 30s whispers a deeper truth. Success is measured in alignment. Alignment between who you are, what you believe, and how you live. This silence challenges you to slow down. But in slowing down, you begin to see. You see the patterns that kept you trapped, the habits that stole your energy, who drained you without giving any. You see the false versions of yourself you've been performing. Who am I when no one is watching? For many, this question, that is why so many people run from silence. Because silence unmasks you. It strips away your excuses. It leaves you face to face with the version of yourself you've ignored. But here is the paradox. That confrontation is not your end. It is your beginning. You are not behind because life is not. You are in silence because you are being prepared. The seed cannot rush to become a tree. The seed must rest, expand, and break open in the touches the light. Maybe you feel pressure when you see others celebrating milestones you haven't reached. Remember this, the louder the celebration, the less certain the foundation often is, because noise can be faked. Silence cannot. Noise can perform. Silence transforms. Your silence is your authenticity. It is the raw soil of who you are, stripped of illusion. And that is the most powerful place you could ever. So instead of resenting the silence, you honor it. Treat it as your training ground. Use it to reconnect with your inner compass. Use it to rediscover the passions you buried. Use it to create vision not from fear, but from truth. When you start seeing silence as a teacher, you realize it has never been about being on time. Time itself is a human illusion, a construct meant to keep you comparing. But your life doesn't run on clocks, it runs on seasons. And this season of silence is not punishment. It is, ask yourself, what is silence trying to show me right now? Is it asking me to let go of an old dream that no longer? Is it asking me to rest so I can grow stronger? Is it asking me to face a truth I've been avoiding for years? Whatever the answer is, know this. Silence always carries direction if you are willing. Because one day when the season shifts, you will, and when you rise, you will not rise confused. You will not rise lost. You will rise with clarity. You will rise with strength. You will rise with purpose. And all of it will be born from the silence you once feared. So the next time you feel late, remember, you are not behind. You are exactly where you are meant to be. The silence you sit in today is the foundation of the life you will live tomorrow. Silence is not the absence of progress. Silence is progress that the world cannot see. It is the work beneath the surface, the roots growing deeper before the tree breaks through the soil. The invisible alignment that prepares you for the visible transformation. But because silence is invisible, you doubt it. You wonder if anything is really happening. You look at your life and see stillness, and you call it failure. Yet the truth is that stillness is the most fertile ground for change. Nothing powerful ever begins in noise. Every revolution of the soul begins in quiet. Think about how the most important shifts in life never make announcements. Healing happens silently. Forgiveness begins silently. Self-respect grows silently. By the time the world notices, the real work has already been done in the privacy of your silence. So when you feel unseen, when you feel forgotten, when you feel behind, remind yourself, You are not being punished. You are being rebuilt. The reason silence feels heavy is because it is dismantling everything false inside you. The dreams that weren't yours, the masks you wore to impress others, the expectations you carried that were never aligned with your truth. Silence removes the noise so you can finally hear what is real. And yes, it is uncomfortable. Growth always is. But silence is not your enemy. Silence is the proof that your life is evolving, even if you cannot see it yet. Your 30s are not about, they are about going deeper, needing speed for depth, applause for alignment, noise for truth. They are about remembering that a life built in silence will always be stronger than a life built in noise. This is why you are not late. You are simply in the sacred stage of becoming. And becoming takes silence. Because when your season shifts, when your silence finally turns into movement, you will not just run faster, you will walk truer. And truth is worth more than speed. Truth lasts longer than noise. Truth builds a life that doesn't just look good but feels whole on the inside. So if today feels empty, remember, silence is full of growth, full of unseen progress that one day will become visible. And when it does, you will no longer fear silence. You will thank it, because it was the silence that carried you here. There is a hidden beauty in silence that you can only see once you stop resisting it. At first, silence feels like loss. It feels like an empty room, stripped of laughter, stripped of music, stripped of meaning. But if you stay long enough, if you sit with it without running, silence slowly transforms. What felt like emptiness begins to feel like space. What felt like absence begins to feel like presence. This is the paradox most people miss. Silence is not nothing. Silence is everything waiting to be discovered. It is not the end of your story. It is the blank page where the next 30s, silence invites you to stop measuring your life by what others can see. A house, a career, a marriage, a family. These are external markers, but they are not the essence of life. Outcomes, not foundations. Silence reminds you that the true foundation is inner alignment. Without that, every milestone will feel hollow. With it, even the smallest step forward will feel complete. And here lies the truth. You compare yourself to, the ones who look so far ahead are often running from their own silence. They fill their days with activity, but they do not pause. They accumulate, but they do not align. And so they look successful on the outside, yet inside. You in your silence are not behind them. You are simply walking the road that leads to peace. As peace cannot be found in noise. Peace can only be born in silence. The silence of your 30s strips away illusions. It makes you face the questions you avoided in your 20s. Do I really love the path I'm on? Am I living or what matters to me when applause fades, when comparison ends, when time feels shorter? These questions are not signs of crisis. They are signs of, and awakening always happens in silence. So instead of fearing this season, lean into it. Learn its language, show patience. Let it remind you that weakness, that pausing is not failure, that listening is not falling behind. Because here is the secret. The life you are building in silence will outlast the lives that were built in noise. The house of noise collapses. House of silence, you are not behind. You are being rebuilt, and the silence you carry today is proof that your tomorrow is taking shape. One day you will look back on this season of silence and realize it was never a delay. It was design. Every quiet moment that felt like failure was, in truth, every pause that was, in truth, protection. Every silence you carried in your 30s was, in truth, the foundation of your becoming. Because silence doesn't just silence changes who you are. It slows you down long enough to unlearn what was never truly yours. Remember what was always waiting to be discovered. Silence clears the fog of comparison and allows you to see that there is no such thing as late when you are living in alignment with your own truth. You are not behind in life, you are simply in silence. And silence is not emptiness. Silence is the seed of transformation. Of the timeline. Release the illusion that you were supposed to be further ahead. Stop carrying the weight of expectations that were never written for you. Instead, honor the silence. Protect it. Lean into it. Because silence is where life speaks the loudest. And as you listen, you will notice something shifting inside you. The pressure will soften. The noise will fade. The fear of being behind will dissolve. In its place, You will find a quiet strength, a steady confidence, a peace that doesn't need validation. That is the power. It does not rush you. It roots you, push you forward, prepares you to rise, and when you rise, because you will, it will not be in noise. It will not be for applause. It will not be to prove to anyone that you were never be. You will rise in silence, with depth, with clarity, with purpose. And that rise will last. So the next time you hear that voice telling you you're late, remember, you are not late. You are not. You are exactly where you are meant to be, in silence, in becoming, in the sacred pause between who you were and who you are meant to become. Because the truth is simple. Life does not reward the fastest. Life rewards the most aligned, and alignment is always born in silence. So breathe, be still, trust the quiet, because in this silence you are not falling behind, you are arriving.